After months, we're back with a new episode of a K-popcast that I was doing, I think, until this summer. Then nothing really interesting was coming out, and I kind of lost my passion of doing them. So I'm gonna do them again after a long time. We're gonna talk about things, for the most part, I would say K-pop related, and something outside of K-pop that are still. Anyway, you can always talk about it, because it's somewhat connected to the K-pop industry as well. And let's get right into it immediately. Let me get this right off, because I don't need them. And let's get right into it, in my opinion, immediately, without wasting too much time, with the Kim Son-ho, drama that has been going on for the last week, 10 days. And the drama is very simple. An anonymous person who says to be the ex-girlfriend of Kim Son-ho came out recently. I don't know if I have the article specifically here. But pretty much what happened is she came out and said, I used to be on a pregnancy and he told me to abort. He's a piece of shit. He gets angry. This image that you see of him, of this really nice person, in reality doesn't exist, right? If you ever watched One Night 2 Days, he's a quiet dude. He doesn't really talk that much. He's reserved. He's gentle. He reminds me a lot of one of my best friends. He's very similar the same way, right? If you don't know them, you might think they're like pushovers when they're not really. He can give that impression if you don't know him. So he always had this very clean image of himself, and then this news comes out. Now, if you know, this past year, I'll say year and a half in K-pop, and in the entertainment industry in general in Korea, there's been a lot of false rumors, and while some of them were false, like Woojin, others turned to be true, like that actor actually used to beat up people and abuse girls in school. That guy was fucking terrible. But then you have situation like Soojin, right? Situation that was small in high school. Looking back, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it still was enough to destroy her career, right? So overall, I would say that this was a terrible thing that happened last year and a half, because even though it unraveled some bad things, overall, the vast majority were just lies, misconstrued situations. A lot of, he did, but they never say what they did, or just simply like, even though they knew it's just something that maybe they left in school, they want to come back at them because now they're celebrities and they're envious, maybe, right? And then there's obviously the false people that are just random accounts, like in the case of Kim Woo-jin, a former Stray Kids member, now soloist. Happened to him. This random person just said something that's not true, even post fake pictures of random people on Instagram, right? So what happens? The first article I saw was this, right? Domino's deletes Kim Son-ho endorsement ads and sets YouTube commercial to private, right? So they immediately cut him off. The moment these rumors were coming out, they didn't know if it was true. They didn't even, I can guarantee they didn't contact him. They just removed him, right? So obviously what happens when these things happen, people are obviously going to think, if they're removing him, that means something bad happened. But the thing in Korea is, this is the first thing they do, right? Like, for example, they censored him on a show that he was on, even though it wasn't necessary even to put these scenes on. They just did it for pettiness, The Korean entertainment industry, as interesting, I think, is very flourishing. I think the shows are good, and I think a lot of things are good. It's very, very weird. I know it's mainly cultural, right? But it's weird for me as an Italian who grew up in Italy for the most of my life, to see celebrities, even though when they do small things, have to always feel regretful, And even countries like Japan, who are known for that, have somewhat dialed down to the process. There are still things that can happen, like with Terasaus and the former wrestler, the girl that committing suicide, right? There's been situations like this, but for the most part, it's been quite down. Like it's been like more relaxed, like idol dates, it's not as big of a news that it was gonna be 10 years ago. Things have slowly but surely changed. I think also because a lot of people that were consuming this media have grown up. In Korea, I don't know, it kind of feels weird, right? But anyway, they drop him immediately, right? Then what happens, right? Immediately the label or the company he works for decides to not comment. Right now, this is more recent. This is only 13 hours ago, but they already did it at the start. They were refusing to comment on anything, mainly because I believe Kim Son-ho told him not to comment on anything, and he was kind of in a difficult situation, right? So at first people were like, fuck, this guy's a terrible person. Netizens, Western fans, they were all the same. For me, I approach it the same way I approach any other situation like this, which is, I don't know if this person is innocent or not. I don't know if this person has actually done bad things or not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna base any of my feelings into this. So I'm just gonna sit down and wait till proofs come out. And this is what happens, right? It's not necessarily, this anonymous lesson came out. A lot of his friends, from college, they knew him because what happened? Rumors starting to spread, right? Oh, he was this type of guy in college. He was this type of person in college. But what people are starting to realize, wait a minute, this person is lying. I can come out and say they're lying. I know him. Look, these people have graduated from the same college he was in. I know him personally. He came to my wedding, right? So they knew each other per se. This woman came up front and said, no, this guy is a good guy. He was reserved. He was always about studying and going. I don't know if he was already acting at the time, but he was a very earnest dude. Didn't bother, didn't like partying, was not a heavy drinker, right? I think this is the article, right? What they want to see, they knew each other since, like, look how young he was here, right? He went to her wedding, like, probably just coming out of, like, either a job or, like, whatever, right? This is the paper of them graduating from the same college, right? So they knew each other for some time, right? And this person came out and started to show that, wait a minute, it's weird, right? All of a sudden, this rules about a guy that everybody that knows has a positive, at least, encounter to. And I'm not saying that Kim Son is a perfect person. No, I mean, we're going to talk about it in a few seconds. But that doesn't mean that he deserves to lose everything because a person decided to lie that day on the internet. And we found something very interesting about this girlfriend in a second. Dispatch, right? So Dispatch is, one would argue, one of the worst things that ever happened. Probably in humanity, right? But Dispatch for I think for the first time ever, actually. Let me check if I can find it right now. This is one, right? I think this is the one. Yes, so pretty much what Dispatch does is they question the validity of her claims because they had a bunch of messages and phone calls between Kim Son-ho and one of his friends, specifically between Kim Son-ho and his girlfriend, right? So originally what we learned is Kim Son-ho is like my other best friend Andrea in his relationship in the past, not now anymore, but he used to be a pushover. Oh, I'm going out to party, don't worry, just stay at home. Oh yeah, I'm not going out with guys. In reality, she was going out with guys. This woman was doing the same. She would see multiple men while she was seeing him. His friend even told him, like, she's lying, she's gonna repeat it again, like, but he was blinded by love. He was sure she was not gonna do it, right? Maybe he was naive, he was definitely stupid, in this situation. Get the fuck out of the relationship immediately. It's bad. It's never gonna end up well. It's gonna end up biting you in the ass even if you don't want to. That was a bad idea from the start. Second of all, which is very important to remember to people here, is she didn't only do that. She was dating other men while she was dating him, and then she comes and was like, well, I'm pregnant. First and foremost, my brother, why didn't you do a father test? Why didn't you do a DNA test immediately? You just accepted it. Originally, they talked about it a little bit. They were going to abort, and at the end, they decided not to abort anymore. Right? As far as I understand, like, I don't want to say some bullshit. Let me check. Right? Right, Kim Son-ho's girlfriend was a blessing, going against the claim made by Kim Son-ho's girlfriend that he turned away coldly after the abortion, and she even adopted a dog for her, and that's really it, So they didn't save the kid. I had this idea, but they didn't, right? So they tried to have a normal relationship, but she was manipulative, right? So she started saying this and that, Or one time he even says in one of the messages, she told me she was home, but when I went home, she wasn't home. She was somewhere with some dudes, right? Like, that's crazy, right? So this woman decided to lie about him because she's a possessive person. She's the classic terrible woman that nobody would want to have to be in a relationship with. Sorry, 1 second. Nobody would want to be in a relationship with a woman like this, but unfortunately, certain people tend to fall for this, So what happens to him? He decides to apologize the moment he heard these rumors. I have no idea why he did that. I understand you don't know what to do in the situation. You think you're cornered, but in this situation, you should never apologize. Just come on and say what it is. Also, the label is not commenting, I think mainly because he doesn't want them to comment. But this whole situation is, again, it's reminiscent somewhat of the Mina situation with AOA, which is, it's not that Mina wasn't bullied or anything like that, of course, but she also was a person with a lot of defects that made her unlikable, very unlikable. And she tried to make it seem like she was the nicest person ever and everybody was a bully to her, right? That will automatically make people turn on you, because even though I don't think Mina is a bad person, she's definitely a person with mental issues and all of that, you go and do that, people think of you in a certain way. So Kim Soo had an image of himself, so people, as soon as they heard something negative, they completely turn their heads on it. Now, the good thing is things seems to be going positive for him. As far as I understand, people are reacting in a more positive manner. Like, even netizens are like, took the blame, the truth will always be revealed. He was a nice guy, This article reminds me of the producers of Hometown Cha Cha Cha, right? Stuff like that, which is funny, right? But my whole point is, this type of situation makes you understand that he was having a hard time. He still worked, he still all those things, try to keep it private like any man should in this type of situation. Because I'm pretty sure that, he's not super young, right? Am I wrong? He's 35. Like, he's still a young man, obviously, but he's in his mid-30s. Things starting getting more serious in life, right? He also grew up very poor. He didn't have a lot of things going on. So he has probably a relationship with the entertainment world that is very different from other actors, right? His career right now is doing very well compared to even like 10 years ago whenever he started acting. So he's over surely improving. And this is pretty fucked up. I feel bad for him. But, what you're going to do, hopefully things are going to fix, and hopefully he's going to be back on TV because he deserves it. And I don't think he deserves to get cancelled or forgotten, because Korea has this bad tendency that I don't like, right? Where if you're not big enough of a person, they remove you from the minds of the people. They did that in the past with Sujin from J-Idol. They did that with a million of idols. Even people didn't do anything. So hopefully things will go good for him, and things would hopefully be better. This is one of the things about Korea that I probably hate the most, which is netizens are amazed at how beautiful Giselle became in just a span of the year. So when they mean beautiful, what they mean is reality is thinner, right? Giselle was not ugly on the left at all, she seemed pretty natural. I also, in fact, one thing about like these early stages they were showing is how they didn't have this super heavy like classic like 2021 cable like makeup, right? Yes, they tried to have this tough concept, but apart from a couple of girls, I think it had more of a natural at least look, right? They completely reverted to that, right? So Giselle looks super pretty as always, but she looks very different, right? The makeup is heavier. You can clearly see they're trying super hard at removing her facial features, right? One thing I hate about Korean makeup is because they try to remove your facial features, a lot of times your face looks flatter than what it is. So in her case, she has a beautiful nose, but you can't see it because through all the fucking, what is it called, the thing you put on your face, it kind of removes that like image, right? People saying she might have gotten plastic surgery, that's a possibility, all these things. And she obviously lost some weight, so now she's hotter than she ever was before. No, it's perception. I think she was always pretty even before, but I'm pretty sure if I read the comments, probably they're not gonna be super positive, right? But you can't tell me that there's that much different from this to this, guys. Like, again, let's remove the concept of makeup for a second, and you can't tell me there's that much difference. There's barely anything. It's just a different type of makeup, right? This is obviously a guy who's bone reduction. So I don't believe so. But yeah, she definitely got some surgery done. Absolutely, right? So it's not that she probably does some her face, sure, maybe her nose, maybe. But my point is to say that she was so, like, she got so much, oh my god, it's so incredible. It's a lie. I don't believe that. In fact, I'm against this idea because it just constantly pursues this idea that imperfections are a negative in looks. It's not, right? Imperfection is what makes you unique. That's why models, they look good, but if you ever notice, some of them might have a teeth issue, or they might have eyes there in a way, or mouth in a way, or bigger nose. But that's what makes them attractive, because that trait that are normally considered negatives in them are very positive, because it makes them look very different and stand out compared to the rest of people, which is very important to remember when we talk about looks, which is surprising people never talk about it, which I find interesting. Sayuri, who's been on Return of the Superman, I think actually I've been enjoying Return of the Superman the last, couple of months. Not just because Sayuri in here, which is somebody that I've always liked in the entertainment world, but because I feel like, Return of the Superman is one of the wholesome shows that are always good. But there was a period where it was heavily dominated by, I forgot his name, the white guy from Australia. Like, it's not that I dislike him when he's like his kids. I think he's good, but I don't think it's fine. But there was a period where he would appear for like an hour and a half, and then there would be somebody else, right? That would be too much for me, you know. So, you know, normally what I liked about the show was you could actually see the different type of families and everything, and he turned so much into a one-man show, which I don't blame him per se, but it was the way it was. So I didn't read what happened here. I'm going off of just the title, which is Sayuri gives a with response after an element makes a comment about her son not having a father. Now, mind you, I'm surprised that this woman even made this comment, saying the fact that there were cameras around, right? Like, at least the perception that I have is Korean people would have been more reserved in this situation, especially in front of cameras. But I assume probably she didn't think that what she said was like bad or anything, you know, like, you know, that probably could have caused some issue. But let's see what she said. You know, obviously, it's proven also we had a kid, our son, through vitro fertilization. So this woman, what did she say? Let me check. She said, oh, this woman substance, I think I saw you on television. I think I saw that on TV too. Right. Now, all I'm gonna say is, so I know what she made this comment, I believe in. She probably didn't know how to address. So this is not the terrible thing, okay? So the title doesn't lie, but you know, it makes it seem like the woman was like being like negative in any way because they blurred her face and everything. But I think the way she was approaching is, I can't tell her she doesn't have a husband, so I'm just gonna act like, oh, actually I think I saw your husband on television. And it's like, no, I'm the mother and the father of my child as well now, right? Like, it's easier to say that than anything else. And she's like, oh no, how do you raise a kid without a father? And she's like, well, there are good people around me, so I can do it, you know. And the conversation continued actually. Okay, so this is the second part that I didn't know. Raising a son is much harder than raising a daughter. I don't know. I think it really depends. Like, you know, my mother told me that she personally would have, or she always preferred a son over a daughter, but at least for a first child, her. But that isn't necessarily the case for others. Like, I have other family members that had daughters and they were fine, and sons were harder. It really depends on you and the type of person you are and everything. And you know, it's hard, right? I think I would assume, right, if you're a single mother, having a son is harder. If you're a single father, having a daughter is harder, because there will be a point in your life where that person and you will not see eye to eye certain things, and that person will need a figure of their own sex or gender, whatever you want to call it, to actually have that guidance, right? And if you have a kid of the opposite sex, it's hard to really have that. So I understand, but I think it really depending on the person and the situation they are, right? If you have a strong family members with a lot of male good, and she's a celebrity, she has a lot of good male role models around her that people can look up to, right? She knows a lot of them, even people that are outside of Korea, like people like what's his name? I already forgot. Like Kangan, I think is something like this. I always forget his name. The guy who's married to this ice skater. Like, he is Japanese. He has the same background. I know they're very close. You know, he's already one. Plus fathers, uncles, friends. Like, you know, normally this type of situation this woman's talking about is like the woman who's, oh, she's like 17, she has a kid, and maybe she doesn't have parents, or maybe her parents refuse to help her. Like, this type of situation exists, right? But they're very rare, I think, more often than not. But anyways, like, you know, raising a son, how can you raise him without a father? She continued to worry friends, like, do you have a son by any chance? And then went to say, how old is he? If he didn't marry, he can marry me, then he can marry me, then you can only get a grandson, right? She's super hilarious. She's such a charismatic woman, right? So they're gonna say, I can raise him well. If you're that worried, then you can give me your son. Don't just say it in words. I respect that, actually. She's even said it to her face. It takes a lot of balls, I believe, to say something like this. I don't think I would ever dare to say something like this to people older than me in general. Maybe in a funny way, but I wouldn't be like straight with it. You know, even though I'm a pretty honest person normally, but I think it takes a little bit of like balls to say so. And you know, yeah, obviously, you know, I wish all the best. And again, watch the show. The show is good. The series is fucking hilarious, and I think it's actually interesting to see, you know, specifically a single mother raising a son, on her own. I think that's a very interesting concept. I haven't watched it ever in any show like that I can think of. Maybe there was like 16 and like pregnant, but there was like teenage girls. I'm talking about like a woman in her 30s deciding to get, because I think Sayuri is in her 30s, no? I mean, I assume so. That's not her, I think, but sure. Yeah, I assume that, you know, she's in her 30s, or anyway, she's not like super young, so she has money, she's stable monetarily, she's a good system around her. I've never seen anything like this, so it's interesting. Obviously there's difficulties, but definitely I would recommend to watch it. It's very good, and the other cast members are also very, very good. You know, it's a classic wholesome show with kids. Next, an article that I think is pretty stupid, but it's somewhat fun and interesting to read, which is declining birth rates in South Korea will make it hard to find talented idols in the future. Now, declining birth rates, I don't think the main issue is idols. Idols, you're always gonna find idols. That's not the problem. But, you know, obviously there's been a constant one in birth rates in South Korea. Birth rates is lower than ever, I think, right? I think according to the 2021 World Population Status Report released by the UNP, found on April 14, Korea's total fertility rate came in dead last out of the 188 countries measured. South Korea's fertility rate in 2021 stood at 1.1 children, which is less than half of the world average 2.4. With the decrease in birth rate, the K-pop industry might also face a crisis. A lack of new talented trainees. Okay, we're gonna stop here. So the reason is very simple. In Korea, right now, I think right now, maybe with China, you can argue that. I know India is a super growing economy. I think these three, because in Asia, are the growest economy in three of the leading growing economics in the world. It's one of the most hard competitive economies for anybody. We're not talking at the top, right? Because the problem is in America, in Europe, this competition when you want to get to the top. If you just want to be a normal employee and make money, it's not easy to find jobs. There's problems with finding jobs in Italy as well. You know, I'm 25. When I was trying to find, part-time jobs I'm still going to college, right? Because I've changed. Like I was doing engineering, then I changed. I'm doing cinema now, whatever. Anyway, my point is, when I was searching for part-time jobs, it was impossible. Nobody would hire you for a part-time job. Nobody. When you go to McDonald's and you see people in their 30s and 40s and 50s, you rarely see young teenagers working there. It's rare, right? Or young men or young women. So my point is, in a society like Korea, where everything is super competitive, where you have to give everything to the company, right? I remember, I think it was DK that talked that if you go in a company and you work there only for 1 year, like it looks like you're actually betraying the company if you decide to leave to upgrade. So people can stay 3 to 5 years, right? So imagine leave out of college. You don't know if you're gonna have a constant job. Their job might not pay you even that well. So I'm supposed to believe that you leave college, you find a job, and by the time you're 30, you already have life set up. It's impossible. It's impossible, right? Right now in society, I think it's impossible. Maybe in 20 years it is possible, but as of now, it is not possible with the way people live in the system. Not only Korea, I'm talking about Italy, right? I have friends that are married. Sure, but they don't have kids. I have friends that are dating. I know people that are just working, but the vast majority of people that I know are working just to get to end meets or meet end, or whatever you want to say it, right? Just to get to the end of the month and be able to put a little bit of money inside. They're not making crazy money. I know people that work in fields, right? And they're like, I lost my job and now I have to find another job. And they're 30, 31. Right? It's not as easy to find a job when you're 24, 25. Again, myself, I'm trying to graduate by next year, right? If I'm going to graduate by next year, it's not going to be easy for me to just get into the cinema industry or the entertainment industry. Maybe I'll get a small job, maybe make a little bit of money, but it's going to take me 2 or 3 years to make good money. And even after that, you have to be able to save good money, because nobody's going to get into a relationship, have 3 or 4 kids in an expensive society in big cities. You want people to move to big cities. I think Korea wants people to move to big cities. I don't think they're actively promoting people leaving the city, right? Yes, maybe if you live in a small town in a rural area, it will be easier to live, but most people don't want to live there. Specifically, you're going to live, if you need to work in a competitive society, you will have to move to the big city. It's the truth, right? So you want people to work hard, you want people to dedicate their life to work and studying and everything, but you want them to have a family and 3 kids by the time it's 30, 35. It's impossible. So Korea is dead last. I think Japan was close. Pretty much most Western countries were there, and most of third countries were there. But why? Because in third world countries, the concept is the more kids I have, there's a higher chance they survive, there's a higher chance they make money for the family, right? So that's the concept, right? So my grandmother had 6 kids, right? No, what the fuck I'm saying, 5, right? My mother had 2. Her sister had 3. 3 or 4? No, what is it? 3 or 4? That's 3 kids, right? My uncle had 1, right? So to believe that all of us family should have had 5 or 6, it's impossible. Now, is it there to say that the one probably is doing better monetarily is the one that has more kids? Sure, but is that surprising? If you want to push in society the concept that you need to actually make kids, then you have to give abilities to people to make kids. You know what? If you have a kid, you don't pay taxes for a year. Wouldn't that be cool? Or you don't pay taxes for 9 months. If you're a woman, if you're in a relationship, you're married with a woman and she has a kid, for 9 months you're free to not pay taxes. That will make a huge difference if you're wanting to have more kids or not. Or you have a kid who's going to school, well, you don't have to pay this, or you don't have to pay that, or there's services. Single mothers, single fathers struggle, there's no services for them. So it's hard to convince them. Now, the concept of the idols world, like this guy says, as Injuwan, right? I don't know who he is. I've never heard of this guy, but I'm all interested in these people. I probably heard of him, but I don't know him very well. So this guy says, if you look at good trainees, the companies start looking at them around the age of 12, 13. I don't really agree. Like, in the sense that if you look at SM, they don't. If you look, for example, at YG, they do. JYP, they do. But SM, historically, they don't mind even. Arini Birhan in their 20s, Silgi the same. They don't care. I think Silgi was about to turn 20, but because she had the ceremony, I think, with Joy, the adult ceremony. But at the time, Arini in their 20s, mate, motherfuckers from Super Junior, someone debuted in their 20s. It don't matter, right? I think, yes, certain companies do it because they want to train for 3, 4, 5 years. Sure, but to say that there aren't any kids from that year, I disagree. But I also think that K-pop understands, and by the way, K-pop has always done this, which is getting Japanese, Chinese idols, right? Vietnamese, Taiwanese, Thailand, Thai or Malaysian, they'll do that. But the point is, it's okay if it's 1 or 2. They're not gonna go over that, and we're gonna talk about it in a couple of articles as well. Which is, in the group, if let's say it's 5-man group, they're okay if there's 3 Koreans and 2, right, foreigners. But they're not okay if there's 3 foreigners and 2 Koreans. It's rare they'll be okay with it. Plus, there's America. It's full of fucking Korean Americans. You can just get a guy. He's Korean. I grew up in America, but my parents are Korean. It's good enough if he's talented, no? So there is a pull for that, if that's your concern, right? But yes, the number of births obviously is decreased rapidly, and surprisingly, the more the society became competitive, apart from 2015, there was a small raise. Yeah, and I think that's the reason why it goes up a little bit. This is speculation from a guy who knows nothing about economics, is because the generation before got older enough to actually start having kids. That's very simple. But yeah, I mean, like this person said, this is like an netizen said, it's just an aspect of all Korean society, I imagine being an engineer or an IT guy, the pressure you're gonna feel at 23 or 25 out of college is immense. And you don't know if you're gonna find a job and be able to keep the job for 10, 15 years. That's a security blanket that most people cannot get afford on. I think that's a problem with the systems. But to say that that's the reason why people don't have kids is, it's gonna cause with idols not being more idols. I think that there's bigger problems, And again, like somebody here says, right? Okay, we'll choose from other Asian countries: Japan, Southeast Asia, and China. There's Blackpink Rose or NCT Johnny from America. And this guy makes there are a lot of people who have video who turn to YouTube or streaming, right? That's a funny comment, but I don't think that in G1 here should care over much about there's bigger issues. And like I said, you saw Planet Girls 999. There's a lot of fucking trainees. It don't matter. It's just that Korea has to stop with their mentality of the group has to be majority Korean just to please the Korean masses. Even though the Korean masses will be okay if instead of out of 7 people there was 4 Koreans, there was 3, they wouldn't have no issue with it, in my opinion. This is original content by Mayal albums and EPs that feature remarkable collabs. Now, mind you, the reason why I checked this, I don't know anything about this because I'm curious, right? I see Akmu, I see Epic Eye, right? So the reason why I saw these two is because I think they're two of the best albums. Not the biggest fan of this Epic Eye project. It's not like it was made in my top 20 mid-year, but I still think it's a pretty solid project, and overall, there's a lot of dope music in it. Good, actually, features, but Akmu next episode was in my top 3 for a reason, you know. Framework was even my number 1, so you know that probably, yeah, it was my number 1, so sure. Even now and then, if the K-pop deities play the cards right, this track list even include collaboration we never knew we needed at this moment. So we have Akmu Naka with IU, which was okay, probably the least interesting cut I found about the album, but it wasn't bad. You have For Only by Lee Asher, which is Lee Savior for Beyond, I think probably the best song of the year. Arguably probably with Head, Shoulder, Knees and Toes featuring Wonstein. I think she has 2 of the best 5-10 songs of the year easily in Korea right now. I think it's undeniable. Rosario featuring CL Zico. This was a very good track actually. This is Zico pre-going to the fucking military. It was really, really good. Good music video as well. Kang Daniel, who featured Wonstein, but this is the live version because I don't think this was Wonstein also featuring in the album, because I don't remember. Maybe it did, but the song is really good. Lemon featuring Cold, it's okay, you know. Like Cold is good. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm not the biggest fan of this track. Overall, Quintus is an album that I've enjoyed a lot, but going back on it, there's certain songs that I don't like at all, and more than not necessarily loving it. In this case, I'm like, the feature doesn't really stand out. Cold is okay, but he's young. He's a young artist. But yeah, out of these ones, I recommend all the ones pretty much. Even the one with Cold that I don't like. Even this one with IU that I'm not the biggest fan of. Definitely check it out because I think it's good. It's very good quality. But in his album, the hit here is the one with Zion T, but also the one with Crush is very good. The one with Sam Kim is really good. Like the one with Benzene is very good. There's a lot of very good like features here that are not necessarily fucking IU just because she's popular. No. Now we go into the spicy shit of Project 999, whatever it was called, like Ghost Planet 999, right? TXT member Winning Kai's young sister to debut in a new girl group. Now, I don't think it's surprising. She showed some sort of talent. She wasn't bad or anything. She's still very young. She needs time to grow and become like a great like idol. But it's undeniable that the reason why she's getting into this group because she's the sister of Winning. It's Winning Kai. It's undeniable. Like, and again, she took spotlights on the show that she didn't deserve. She had a lot of scenes just because she was a sister of a TXT member. Tell me this is not hype influencing even like things that have nothing to do with their idols in a nutshell, and it is, right? And also she got a lot of flack. I'm gonna talk about it in a second. I think somewhat unwarranted, but partly it was warranted because there are a lot of talented idols that have been fucking played on by Mnet in the last 3 seasons of Produce, Girls Planet. Like, they've been fucking fucked with, and they keep doing it here, right? Where she's gonna get, obviously there was numbers. The group is gonna get called Kepler, which is a fine name. People were complaining about the name. I thought it was better than fucking Dripping T1419. It's better than some of the names that have been coming out in the last 2 years. Even Tribe is good. Like, in fact, I'll say female groups have been having really, really good names recently compared to the male groups who have been having terrible names. So, according to the fan, Winning Bike took 2nd place in the overall ranking when you're sitting in a new girl group, right? And she passed this audition, right? Now, she made it out. No, I don't understand how she made it. And this is where I have an issue with this, right? And that's what I'm saying, this group is called Kepler and everything. If you look at the show, right, she, as far as I understand, in the final episode she was ranked 2nd, right? But she was not that popular. You can't tell me this is not TXT fans. You cannot tell me this is not TXT fans. So let's just make her debut so we can say, Hybe taking over, man. Look at the power of Hybe group, right? And sister taking over, right? It's a setup, right? She doesn't deserve being in the top 9. I think a lot of Chinese and I think a lot of Japanese idols have been fucking played with in this show, and the fact that she got into this group based on the fact that, for the most part, she's the sister of Winning Kai, I think it's stupid. It's like, if she doesn't have talent, doesn't mean she doesn't have ability, but she's not better than a lot of the girls deserve to be here. And it's not only a problem with her, there's a problem with other people as well. Like, it's very reminiscent of when I watched the Aizen show, and I remember thinking to myself, there's no way Sakura is the number one. There's no way. Like, I understand Wonyoung is very popular, all that, but Sakura has to be number one. She's by far the best, and she's by far the most liked. But surprisingly, the Japanese idol was not number one on a show that just wants to push Korean idols. You know, and what I mean by this is, Mnet obviously is an agenda about Korean idols, right? No matter what, we're gonna have mostly Korean idols, right? Now, it made sense in Produce 101, it made sense in Produce 101 season 2, because that's, but once you start doing Produce 49, season 3, and all these things, you have to ask questions of, like, there's idols from other countries that are gonna start wanting to be part of this, that are very talented. Remember how they were editing the Produce 48 shows? They were making it seem like the Japanese actors don't know what they were doing. They were disrespecting people like Jurina. Like, that's unacceptable, you know. And the fact that they were doing that so openly, right, where you would have judges who were harsh over most Japanese idols, but then the Korean idols, they wouldn't be as hard. They would be as harsh as them. If not, they were just harsh if the girls, like, you know, if the girls like made them say, oh, that's wrong, right? But when they say, oh, you have no talent, it's like, that's just not true. Because then you allowed people not only on the show but on others to be on it, even though they're not as talented or didn't deserve it over others, just because you wanted to rig it. So what would make me think that you didn't try to rig this one as well, Mnet? There's no reason for me not to believe it. And in fact, I would be surprised if you didn't rig it. There's no, I'm not talking specifically to buy here, I'm talking about in general. In general, and we're gonna talk about it in a second. Right? She got bullied, don't bully her, it's wrong. You know? But as people say, this is why voting should not be the decision maker. It should be a part, but should never be the decision maker, because if not, BTS would have won the last 3 Grammys, which is stupid. Okay. So there was a specific contender. It was Yurina. Now, if you know, this is the top, right? So Kim Cheon took the spot, which I think is fair. You're winning. I don't know how the fuck she got number 2. Choi Yujin, Kim Dayoung, Soyoung, Kang Yezo, Itzaki Hikaru, Sakamoto Mashiro, and shouting, right? I like Itzaki quite a bit, you know. She's quite like, oh shit, I made a mistake. She has quite of a personality, you know. She's a lot of a personality. So Yurina with 200,000 tweets, you know, Yurina once has taken the top spot and never left the top 9, expecting to be part of the finalists when he has in the beauty. Oh my lord, like, guys, first, I have no idea. Like, sounds ridiculous, but I prefer when the show is rigged by the producers, but that and not by the fans. But the problem is this: the vast majority of viewers were outside of Korea. I'm talking about Western fans, Chinese fans, Japanese fans. So I'm not saying that the popularity doesn't matter. My point is, there's no fucking way some of the girls didn't make it. There's no way. It's like, again, it feels weird. I remember when I watched the season 1 or season 2, right? Season 2 to me felt the most real. Season 1, I was surprised, for example, Sejong didn't take the number 1 spot, but Somi was huge. Like, Somi was huge at the time. There was no debate that Somi didn't deserve it. But how certain people didn't make it in here, it's crazy. Considering the fact that, again, it's similar to what happened in season 3, where certain people will be very high and then they would just randomly drop and get eliminated, right? come on, man. Like, it just can't be the case. People like somebody, you know, they're never gonna drop. Kang Daniel won his season fair and square. I always forget who won season with X1. I always forget, but you know, Won-young, I think it was debatable. I really think Sakura was the most popular, right? She was the best, right? So there's someone that leave you their weird taste. The most part don't, but the last couple of seasons, you have to question Mnet, bro. There's no way I believe that these motherfuckers did not do something. There's no way. There's no way. I don't believe it, and I feel bad for you because she deserves it. It's very simple, you know. I don't like the blurry face, but whatever. Like, she deserved it. It's fucking weird. I hope she deserves more, but you know. So the final is, let's see how they're responding. Like, as we talked about, like, you know, these are the final members. You know, pretty clean image, classic images. I don't know what they're trying to go with, even with the name. They seem they want to do something no, Girls' Generation. Fuck, something like very G-Friends type of thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but it could be maybe Evergo. But how like, Kim Bara is not there. Somebody's like, this is this is not rigged for sure, lol. Like it's just weird, man. You know, but you know, as that guy in the comments said, maybe it's not rigged, maybe I'm letting my emotions speak, but I believe there's something wrong with this, 100%. Now let's go back to the things that matter. Vix. Leo's finally gonna drop a music. He hasn't dropped music in a long time. As far as I understand, he works in musical. Like, he's similar to like Wang and some of these guys. He constantly works in musical, as far as I understand, right? But he also might have been like in hiatus because it's been Corona the last 2 years. But you know, I definitely want to hear what Leo has to say. He's an artist that I've always liked. Vix is one of my favorite groups. And I'm a little bit older. I think you can see it on my face as well. So he's a group that I've grown up with, and you know, during my formational years, so it's a group that I care about, and it's definitely one of my favorite members. I want to see what he's gonna do next, so definitely check it out. You know, this thing is gonna call I'm Still Here. It's been 2 years, like I said, pretty much pre-corona, so probably corona didn't allow him to work, but he will be back when he's October 27th. No, he released just the photo, so we don't know when he's gonna release them. Hopefully something interesting. TXT drops the poster for like B-Sides Frost. I still haven't listened to this fucking TXT project. I think I have, but the poster looks cool. Still very like fantasy steampunk vibe to it. So definitely curious. I'm not saying about the music video per se, because even the music video is good. I don't like the song. I don't care, but hopefully the song is good and the song has something to say. Part like, I don't know. I don't like Winning's like outfit. The choker looks pretty fucking shit. He looks good. I like the hat, a lot of personality. He has a very good aesthetic. Random close up and nice like upper body shot of Subin with this very cool like kind of reminds me of Guillermo del Toro like type of costume you would see. So interesting to see what they're gonna do with it. BTS officially enters 2022 Grammys Award with Butter. Not surprised. So let's see, you know, not surprised that as soon as they have an English song, there's a chance they're gonna win. I'm not saying there isn't. But let's look at the songs here. You have 24 Gold as a Mood, which I think was as popular as Butter for a long time, with Ian Dior. Doja's Cat, Kiss Me More, more songs that I really like. The Kid Laroi is a Miles Without You, and Lizzo's Rumors featuring Cardi B. No, so these are the ones that. The one that I don't like here is the Kid Laroi song with Miley Cyrus. The rest, to me, I enjoy all. I think Doja Cat is gonna win because they even made Megan Thee Stallion win recently, so they're probably gonna keep going with like, because the Grammys are very predictable. So I think probably Doja Cat is gonna win. There's a chance BTS is gonna win. I'm not saying it's impossible. If they win, they'll be cool. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't care. But it would be cool if they did, in my opinion. Hopefully I don't have to stand another month of the Grammys are racist because, you know, my Asian fucking like, what do you call them, wannabe boyfriends that I hope they're my boyfriends, I'm just delusional about it, didn't win, but the black artist won. So yes, the Grammys are still racist, I guess. You know, If BTS obtains a Grammy for Butter, can Hype go back to producing music that isn't only catering to an American audience and winning more awards? I seriously miss the more thought-provoking and art they created that has so much. I agree. There's so much depth in the story. It seems that BTS has kind of left their roots to do more mainstream music. And listen, I think it's understandable. When you're as big as BTS, there's no way you cannot do that. You have to. You have to make more cookie cutter music, right? With basic lyrics and like, basic references to American culture, right? You can't talk about your culture, your difficulties, because who's gonna listen to it? Out of the last 5 albums they dropped, the one that sold the least was Fake Love, which was their deepest project to date. If you compare from Fake Love to now, it's a project that sold the least. And you can't just tell me because BTS was not popular, the next year they sold the most. It's just that people didn't want to hear that from the rest of the world, so they understood the formula. From there on, they never turned on and they became huge. But yeah, I think they have a greater chance this year than any other year. And hopefully, if they don't win, please go back to make your classic music BTS, because it's crazy that I have to say that in the last 3 years, last 4 years, none of your album made my top 10, 20 personally ever. Never did. And it used to make it every fucking year. Sometimes even top 3. It hasn't made in years, and I hope you do that, because it's not that I want you to never improve, but mate, like, it seems like you're not improving, you're regressing. It's obvious, I think, to anybody that's listening to your discography. And this explains that NCT wants to until Gaon says gap plus why K-pop groups can chart them other than big hit groups, right? So people took it bad, BTS fans or like big hit fans, but the reality is NCT has, I think, they collaborate with Until Sales, which their sales are on Until Sales, I think, because they are with Gaon, I think. So what happens is Big Hit has a contract with like US, like Amazon and Target. So when they buy their albums from these places, it goes into the Billboard. But if you buy them from Until or Gaon, it doesn't. So most NCT albums are bought from there because they have a pretty big, apparently I think you can only find them there for the most part, right? But most people buy them from there, therefore they don't chart. Therefore, even people like TXT, who sold less than NCT, they still get charted higher, right? So it's kind of weird, right? The way it is. So Stray Kids, for example, right? It's a great example, not necessarily NCT. Stray Kids, right? Sold more than TXT, right? And 80s. So the idea was, in terms of sales, was SKT, 80s, and TXT, but TXT ranked higher because they don't chart on Billboard. However, if you go on the chart or check Until's global album size chart, the United States is number 1 for SKT and 80s, and number 4 is TXT, which is still very good. I think we go here and see, right? It's BTS, then it's 80s, EXO, and NCT. These are the most popular K-pop groups in the US, right? So BTS, 80s, EXO. I'm surprised 80s is this popular. NCT and most of the X17 classic, right? I'm surprised Blackpink is not top 3, but sure. Got 7. Luna, they always have their famous, right? So BTS sold. So BTS sold 700k there. Although Big Hit is the only company that has a deal with US Canadian related. So people were mad because the sales is this, right? It's supposed to be this technically. So apart from the fact that I don't know how many repacked projects like TXT is released this year. This is like album sales in the US, but this is estimated album sales, right? But anyway, so the point is, people don't understand is, yes, you can find a NCT project on Amazon, but they're distributed by another party, and that party, if you don't have a deal with them, they will not count it on the charting Billboard. It's kind of fucking weird. I don't know why they have these type of systems in America. I think it's to incentivize working with them, or like, I think that's one reason why a lot of people sign with American labels. You see sometimes Red Velvet signing to an American label. I'm like, why are they doing that? But I think the reason why they do is that because they want to chart, and there's no other way to chart if you don't do that as well. So it's where I thought it was an interesting tree. If you're interested in it, now let's go to the deep end about this Alex by Giselle situation. So she was singing a song by SZA, Love God, which I love this song, and she said the N-word. Right now, she was singing on the song, right? And if you look at my, growing up in Italy, people have called me names. Obviously, it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right, but I think the way it clearly was a boring day on Twitter and the K-pop community, and the technical response would be like, "Yo, she shouldn't have said this in front of a camera. Bad PR. SM definitely should teach their idols not to say the fucking N-word in front of cameras. Be aware of that because Americans are gonna get mad." But the way people say, "Oh no, it's racism," and Twitter, as always, it's for fucking, like, I go Twitter only for the memes. I don't go for the serious stuff because it's really mental derangement. Oh no, I feel hurt. We as black people, we feel hurt because this person who lives in Korea, they have no connection to sang the song with the N-word, and I need an apology to be okay, right? Which I find laughable because you can feel offended, absolutely. But the problem is, I feel offended, therefore you're a bad person, therefore you must apologize to me. They don't have to apologize to you. No, she did it anyway. I was gonna see in like a couple of minutes. But my point is, I find these battles to be unwinnable. The idea that you have to not say the N-word in a song. I'm not saying me. I'm saying in general, the world. Americans have to stop thinking about the world as if it's America. It's not. The rest of the world moves at its own pace, its own history, its own culture. Most countries, specifically Asian countries, do not have an history with the N-word. For them, it's just another word, like any other, right? So if you say, well, but what if what if an Asian artist put an Asian slur in a song? Then people would probably sing it in countries where they don't have any history with Asian hate. They would. It's the way it is, right? It's like the famous Woodstock 1996, I think it was 1998, in Poland, where DMX was singing his songs and everybody was singing with him. DMX was not like, well, no guys, you have to stop saying the N-word because it hurts me. Like, he knows what he does in his songs. Now, that's why I respect artists like Odyssey. I don't think any of you know who Odyssey is. It's a hip-hop artist. He was bothered by people saying the N-word. He stopped saying it. In fact, he realized it sells more money because now they can play it here and there because there's no N-word. My point is, it's easy to say, she says it, therefore you cannot. This is not how it works. It's not how it works. You can say whatever you want in the music, but you can't tell people what to say listening to your music. There's no way. And again, let's remove this facade. 99% of people, when they listen to black music at home in their privacy, they'll sing the song fully. They don't just stop saying, I must not say the N-word. I don't believe that at all. And people that tell you that, they're lying to you and they're playing with you. Very simply. Apart from that, like I've always said, I think this is not a big deal. I think most people agree. Yes, they think it's wrong, but I'm not saying it's on Twitter. Twitter, nobody agrees. Obviously this got a lot of negative reviews, obviously, because as soon as you say one of these, people see you're racist. No. People are giving their own personal opinions on it. As long as they're calling a black person and N-words with their face, I have no problem with it. I don't feel offended at all. She was only lip syncing. It's the singer of the song that should be blamed. I don't think she should even be blamed. I don't think SZA should be blamed. She's the N-word. SZA say whatever the fuck she wants on her song, but the same way we do about, like, I don't want to make an extreme example, right? People that go watch movies and then they shoot a school. We don't say, you know what, guys? The movie artist is to blame. No, I'm not gonna blame SZA for saying the N-word. I don't think you should even be mad if people sing the song, in an unknowing way, right? She just singing because she likes SZA. I don't think she was singing this. I hate black people because she said the N-word. I think that's just stupid, if you think that, in my opinion. So she apologized. She was like, mocking the wrongful word from the lyrics of the song I was playing on side. I had no intention of doing it with any purpose and got carried away when one of my favorite songs was played. I sincerely apologize. I will continue to learn and be more conscious of my actions. Now, I just want to see the fucking comments for a second. I need that spiciness. So I can't know why it's kind of bugged. Twitter is just a cesspool. Just what you said, realize as a black, I hope you've really changed and learned. She just said sorry, guys. Like, what do you think she had to learn? Oh, I didn't know it's a bad word. So next time I'm not gonna say it in front of cameras. That's what she learned, guys. I mean, I guess she learned something, no? That we didn't know. Like, oh no, what did this guy write? Should I even press? Well, people ask for apologies. You can move on with your lives now. If you want to question it, then I don't know what people wants from these idols. Yeah, true. But again, like Trillion here says, which is true, people don't want an apology, just want to destroy you morally and have a power over you, sure. And last song, so we can close this fucking shit because it's late. It's 3:30. It's almost an hour of a podcast. Exocab reported will be making a comeback at the end of November. Definitely excited. I really liked Kai's latest comeback a lot. He brought a different style of music that I thought he was gonna bring. You know, I had an idea he was gonna bring certain things, but he actually brought something very different, which made me happy, honestly. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say that I'm definitely excited. They say come November, I don't know when, but he's also gonna drop his first mini album. I wish it was a full-length album. We're probably gonna get 3 songs. Let's be fucking real. But definitely curious what she was gonna do. Oh, last thing before we go, actually, I said here, which is yeah. MJ's actually have solo debut. I'm really curious. I'm a huge MJ fan. MJ is my favorite Astro member, maybe. Is he my favorite Astro member? Let me think. I have a bad memory, so let me check the Astro members. Oh my god. Okay. Who's my favorite Astro member? I mean, to be fair, I like them all. I like Jinjin a lot. Does he think it's called Jinjin? Maybe. I like MJ quite a bit. Ono is cool. But it's probably my favorite. Moonbeam is cool. Rock is cool. Maybe Sana, right? But even then, right? I like MJ quite a bit. He's fucking funny. Jinjin is funny as well. I would say MJ and Sana, and like I like everybody in this group, but I would say MJ and Sana. But I mean, they're grown-ups now. Like motherfucker, like he's my age, you know, a little bit younger than me. There's a bit actually older than me. MJ is the oldest of the group, I think. No, he's younger than a year. Like, but then you have these 2 guys, like, especially these guys, like, born in 2000. No, like, he's way younger than all of us. So, I mean, listen, I hope it's good. I'm curious what he's gonna do. I think it's gonna be some cute song, and I'm interested to see what he's gonna be. Nice to see there's a lot of interaction on Twitter. Hopefully, he's gonna get supported by people, and support this podcast as well. It's very raw. I'm not like editing a lot. I'm not like overthinking anything. I'm just going pretty direct with it, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I might say something dumb in the middle. Forgive me. I'll try to, you know, be more clear with my speaking and my cadences and everything in the future episodes that are gonna come out in November, 100%. You know, when I have exams, midterm exams. So I'll try my best to, like, you know, upload a couple of episodes here and there. Okay, thank you very much for supporting. See you next time, and yeah, leave a like and subscribe.